Yo guys, what's going on and welcome back to the penultimate episode of Wales of a Time. Now recently EA have announced the new icons for FIFA 21 and funnily enough there are no new Welsh icons, but in this video I'm going to talk about 5 ex-Welsh players that I think could and in some cases should get an icon card in FIFA. And I've ordered them least likely to most likely to get an icon card in my opinion. I will leave timestamps down below so you can skip to whichever icon you want to listen to, but yeah, let's get on with the video. Starting off, the first Welsh player I think could get an icon card is Mark Hughes. Now although my generation and younger think of Mark Hughes as a manager, he was also quite a decent player in his day. He played for many different clubs, most notably Man United, Barcelona and Bayern Munich, which is a pretty good career, playing as either a cam or a striker. In all competitions at club level he played 800 games and scored 224 goals, and as well as playing at club level he also made 72 appearances for Wales and scored 16 goals. His 16 goals for the national team means he is still the 7th highest top scorer for Wales despite retiring in 2002. As I said, after he retired he then went on to be a manager. He managed 6 different clubs and the Welsh national team. In total he was in charge of over 600 games and had a 37% win percentage, which to be honest doesn't sound like a lot, but he won more games than he lost. I think it's fair to say however that Mark Hughes was a more impressive player than he was a manager. As a player he won many cups and tournaments in his career, as well as picking up a lot of individual awards. With Man United he won back-to-back Premier League titles. As well as this he won 3 FA Cups, 3 Community Shields, a Football League Cup, 1 European Super Cup and the European Cup Winners' Cup. He then went on to win the FA Cup, the Football League Cup and the Cup Winners' Cup again with a different team, this time Chelsea. On top of this he picked up many individual awards throughout his career. He was part of the PFA Team of the Year 4 times whilst playing for Man United. As well as this he won the Players' Player of the Year twice in 1989 and 1991, and in 2007 he was inducted into the English Football Hall of Fame, which is a pretty big achievement. Now although Mark Hughes is regarded more now as a manager than a player, and his playing career is sort of forgotten about due to the many competitions he's won throughout his career, coupled with the crucial part he played in achieving those victories, I would say that Mark Hughes is one of the most likely former Welsh players to pick up an icon in FIFA in the future. Moving on to the next player, we have Ivor Allchurch. Now I know what you're thinking, I have absolutely no idea who this guy is, and I'll be honest, neither did I before I did my research. Allchurch played as both a right forward and a striker in a 21-year career from 1947 to 1968. He played over 780 games at a club level in all competitions, most notably for Swansea, but he also played for Cardiff and Newcastle. In those games he scored 288 goals in all competitions. As well as having a very successful club career, he also had a very successful national career. He received 68 caps for Wales and scored 23 goals. This impressive tally of both appearances and goals meant that at one point in his career he was the top scorer and had the most caps for Wales. Since then he has been overtaken in both tallies. However, to this day he is still Wales' 3rd top scorer behind the mighty Ian Rush and Gareth Bale. He also played a very crucial role in the Welsh 1958 World Cup squad, playing all of their games and was also their top scorer in the competition. The reason I bring up the 1958 World Cup is because that is the furthest Wales have ever got in a World Cup competition. In the World Cup, however, Wales did come up against a very talented Brazil side with a few familiar faces, and unfortunately Wales did not get the result they were after. However, after the game, the Welsh manager said that Allchurch was by far the best player and could have actually fitted comfortably in the Brazil team, which in my opinion is very impressive because the player playing for Brazil in his position was Garrincha. As compliments go, that's a pretty big one. In 2015, Allchurch was inducted into the English Football Hall of Fame, and he is also part of the Football League 100 Legends, alongside some pretty big names, Bergkamp, Schmeichel and Cantona, just to name a few. To top it all off, in 1966 he was awarded an MBE for recognition of his services to Welsh football. Now obviously, unfortunately I am not old enough to have been able to watch Ivor Allchurch play football, and sadly he passed away before I was even born. As far as I'm concerned, he is one of the biggest Welsh football legends the country's ever had. The fact that he scored the most goals in Wales' most successful World Cup campaign, alongside him being Wales' third top scorer to this day, despite him retiring in 1968, suggests to me that he should be an icon in future FIFAs. Next up we have a player who many regard to be Wales's best goalkeeper ever, and to my surprise it wasn't Wayne Hennessy. It was instead Neville Southall. As I said, Southall played as a goalkeeper in a career spanning 22 years between 1980 and 2002. He played mostly for Everton at a club level, however throughout his career he played for 15 different clubs. He made over 900 appearances at a club level in all competitions, 747 of which were for Everton. Because of this he is considered an Everton legend, and he still holds many of the club's records, including the most league appearances, most FA Cup appearances, most League Cup appearances, and the most clean sheets. Like all the players on this list, as well as having a very successful club career, he also had a very successful national career with Wales. He received 92 caps for Wales throughout his career, meaning that he is currently the second most capped player for the national team, and in 34 of those 92 games, he kept a clean sheet. With Everton, he won the First Division twice, and as well as this, he won the FA Cup twice, the FA Community Shield 3 times, and the European Cup Winners' Cup once. He too was part of the Team of the Year 4 times, and he's another player on this list who is part of the Football League 100 Legends. However, his most notable achievement, in my opinion, was his winning of the FWA Footballer of the Year, which is basically the Ballon d'Or for English League players. Because of his achievements at club and international level, I would agree that Southall is the best Welsh goalie ever. Now, believe it or not, there are only 4 icon goalies in FIFA, one of which is to be added in FIFA 21. And if there was to be an icon goalie from Wales, I think Neville Southall should be that player. Moving on, we have the runner-up to the most likely to get an icon card in my opinion, and the only player in this list to have actually had a card in FIFA before. It is of course Gary Speed. In his career, Speed played as a centre mid and a left mid, most notably for Leeds, Newcastle and Bolton. His career spanned 22 years between 1988 and 2010, but as many of these players did, after his playing career he went on to be a manager. He made over 840 appearances at a club level in all competitions, and at one point he held the record for the most appearances in the Premier League. In those appearances, he also scored 135 goals in all competitions, which is not bad for a centre mid. He also received 85 caps for Wales, meaning that he is the 5th most capped Welsh player and the 3rd highest outfield player. In the 1989-90 season with Leeds, he won the 2nd division, and then 2 years later, in the 1991-92 season, he helped Leeds win the 1st division. In the 1992 season, he also won the FA Community Shield with Leeds, ironically beating a Liverpool side which had my favourite Welsh icon, Ian Rush, up front. He was part of the first ever Premier League Team of the Year in 1993, alongside players such as Schmeichel, Keane, Giggs, Ian Wright and Alan Shearer. As I said, after retirement he went on to be a manager and also managed the Welsh national team. In his games in charge he picked up a 50% win percentage, although he was only in charge for 10 games. Now perhaps the saddest fact about Gary Speed was his unfortunate early passing in 2011 at the young age of 42. Speed was such a big part of football and such an important member of the football community that in 2010 he was awarded an MBE for services to football. In my opinion, Gary Speed does deserve an icon card. It would be welcomed into the FIFA community by the older players who were fortunate enough to watch Speed play. It would also be a very good way of making the younger players of the game aware of who he was and how good he was as a player. Gary Speed should receive an icon card, not only because he was an immense player, but also because he deserves a place in football history. Now moving on, we come to the player that I think is most likely to get an icon card in FIFA. It is the gentle giant, John Charles. Now again, I know what you're thinking, who is John Charles? John Charles' career spanned 17 years from 1949 to 1966. He has over 700 appearances at club level, most notably for Leeds and Juventus. In those 700 games, he scored 370 goals at club level. Despite making 700 appearances at a club level, he only received 38 caps for Wales, the reason for which was Juventus very rarely let him play. Because of how good he was, they couldn't risk him getting an injury. Despite him making only 38 appearances, he still managed to score 15 goals for the national team. Now, John Charles is an unusual player because he is the only player ever to be elected into a World 11 in 2 different positions. Throughout his career, Charles played as both a striker and a centre-back. Because he played in 2 very different positions throughout his career, it is perfect for the 3-tier icon system in FIFA. Despite playing as both a centre-back and a striker, he never received a yellow or red card throughout his career, causing Juventus to give him the nickname the Gentle Giant. Obviously they gave him the nickname in Italian, but I'm not going to try and pronounce that for you. Along with Allchurch, Charles was also part of the 1958 Wales World Cup squad. In the 1958 World Cup, Wales reached the quarter-finals, which is the furthest they have ever got. However, they did come up against the eventual winners in the quarter-finals, Brazil. In that game, they unfortunately lost 1-0, and the goal was scored by a 17-year-old kid called Pele. Ironically, this was Pele's first ever international goal. John Charles scored in Wales' final group game to ensure that they got through to the quarterfinals. However, he picked up an injury and didn't play in the quarterfinal game against Brazil. Many believe that if he had played, they would have beaten Brazil and possibly could have gone on to win the competition. In the 56-57 season, John Charles was the top goal scorer in the English First Division after scoring 38 goals in 40 games. His goal scoring record in that single season is so impressive that it has only been beaten once in 74 years. After winning the Golden Boot with England, he then transferred to Juventus for a world record fee the following season. And in his first season in the Serie A, he got top goal scorer again, this time scoring 28 goals, again a number that wasn't surpassed for 37 seasons. With Juventus, he won 3 Serie A titles and the Coppa Italia twice in the space of 4 years. In 2002, he was inducted into the English Football Hall of Fame, and alongside Neville Southall and Ivor Allchurch, he is also part of the Football League 100 Legends. However, in my opinion, his most notable achievement was in 1959 he came 3rd in the Ballon d'Or, behind Alfredo Di Stefano and ahead of Yashin and the new icon in FIFA 21, Ferenc Puskas. Because of his contributions to both Leeds and Juventus, he is considered an absolute legend at both clubs. He is loved so much at Leeds that one of the stands at Ellen Road is named after him, and at Juventus, recently he was voted the best foreign player to ever play for them, beating Zinedine Zidane. Because of his goal-scoring form, he is the most prolific Welsh striker ever, and his countless achievements means that for me, he is the best Welsh player ever, ahead of the likes of Ian Rush, Ryan Giggs and Gareth Bale, and more than deserves to be an icon in an upcoming FIFA. But there we go, that is my opinion on possible future Welsh icons we could see in FIFA. If they were to all get icons, the Wales of a Time team would look something like this, which is quite an impressive team. And if one of them does receive an icon card in the near future, you best believe I'll be back with another Wales of a Time series. But that is all from me today. If you have enjoyed, please feel free to leave a like down below. If you agreed or disagreed with me, let me know in the comments. I'll be interested to know your opinions. Leave a like if you did enjoy, subscribe if you're new around here, and I will see you all in the next video. See ya!